So I'm going to do a little something different than we've done on the channel before. I'm going to do a review for some stories I just read entitled Red Riding Hood Has a Gun and Hansel and Gretel Have Guns. So a quick explanation. These two stories were posted on the NRA website. They're trying to reach children, teach them about gun safety, so they hired a conservative writer who looked at some public domain stories. Famous ones, of course, Red Riding Hood and Hansel and Gretel, and reimagined it with, what if, Red Riding Hood had a gun? And what if Hansel and Gretel had a gun? What kind of story would we end up with? Well, a terrible one. That's what you end up with. For me, the issue wasn't kids having guns. We've had stories with children having guns. Peter and the Wolf has a kid with a gun, I believe. The kid in Treasure Island shoots a pirate out of the crow's nest. So my thing is just by adding the guns to stories like Red Riding Hood and Hansel and Gretel, all the suspense, all the, terror, it's all gone. The stories are both pointless, really. Let's take a look at Red Riding Hood. The original, it's basically a little girl is going to see her grandmother. Her grandmother's sick, so she's out by herself, walking down the path in the woods, comes across a wolf, starts talking to it, telling the wolf she's going to grandmother's house. And for some reason or another, the wolf, wanting to eat Little Red Riding Hood, heads off to grandmother's house. Eats the grandmother, dresses up as her, gets in bed, Little Red Riding Hood shows up, and she's, they do the famous lines. Grandmother, why are eyes so big? The better to see you. Why are your ears so big? The better to see you. And of course, Grandma, why are your teeth so big? The better to eat you. And in some versions, he eats Little Red Riding Hood. Other ones, that's when the woodsman shows up, takes out the wolf. In the versions where he eats Little Red Riding Hood, huntsman shows up later, guts the wolf. They put stones in the wolf. After they've taken Red Riding Hood and Grandma out. And then the wolf has stones in him. He goes to a stream, looks in, falls in, drowns. Because the stones are weighing him down. Pretty graphic. Well, we don't see this in Little Red Riding Hood Has a Gun. She basically scares off the wolf when she encounters him in the forest. And then later, Grandma does the same thing. When he shows up at her house, she ends up with a shotgun, scares the wolf into submission. Woodsman shows up, takes the wolf away. Happy ending. Well, I think they kind of missed the point. I mean, what's the lesson you're supposed to learn there? Don't talk to strangers. Well, you learn it better in the original because you see the consequences of that. Little Red Riding Hood blabbing her mouth off to the big bad wolf. Tells him where she's going, what she's going to be doing. He goes to grandmother's house to set up a trap. I mean, and then you learn your lesson. Don't talk to strangers. Don't tell them everything. You don't learn that with that one. She just scares the wolf off with the gun, and Grandma does the same. So, I mean, there's a line in this where she talks about how she doesn't talk to strangers, but she still talks to the wolf. I think she gave away that she was going to grandmother's house, but... And it's not like the original is perfect. It has its flaws. I mean, for one, why didn't the wolf just eat her right then and there? I mean, why's he got to set up this elaborate trap to get her to grandmother's house? He's, operating with, the mindset of a Batman villain here. He could have just eaten her right then and there. And, of course, Little Red Riding Hood, terrible parenting. I'll give the NRA version this, that her parents were probably more intelligent than the ones in the original. The ones in the original said, just go to grandmother's house. It's no big deal. There's nothing in the woods you have to worry about. Aside from the big bad wolf, they just sit around. That Red Riding Hood comes off as being incredibly stupid or incredibly, far-sighted. How the hell does she not tell the difference between the big bad wolf and her grandmother? You know what? She was either dumb or she can't see too well. I mean, it was probably written in an era before glasses, so maybe that explains a few things. Well, like I said, when people tell the story right, there's suspense there. You're like, is the wolf going to eat her now? Oh no, now he's going to grandmother's. And of course, the line, the better to eat you, comes off as just amazing. It's been around for centuries. That's how good of a line it was. One-liners, And even though this is in the new Imagine version, it lacks the oomph. Now, Hansel and Gretel. So, a brief synopsis of that story, where the original was Hansel and Gretel. They were living with their parents in the old days. They were running out of food. Winter was coming. The stepmother convinces the father to leave the kids out in the woods. Gretel takes some breadcrumbs, leaves a trail. Some versions, they go back, and then the parents take them further out, and she runs out of breadcrumbs. Some versions, the crows eat the breadcrumbs. So they wander in the woods. Hansel and Gretel come across a gingerbread house. They start eating it, and there's an old woman there. She invites them in, and then she turns out to be a witch and locks them in cages, fattens them up so she can later cook them into stew. And at one point, Gretel is working with the old witch. The old witch gets careful, and Gretel pushes her into the oven, lights her on fire. That's the original. Very scary tale. Lots of suspense. You've got, these children being abandoned to the wild. You've got cannibalism. And you've got someone being set on fire. In the new version, Hansel and Gretel, I guess they're a little older. And same situation. Their family is dirt poor. Running out of food. Winter's coming up. Well, in this version, because they have guns and because they have training, the two of them go out and do some hunting. They're very good at it. And while they're out there, they stumble across the gingerbread house. And they find other children that are being locked in there. They rescue those children while the witch is asleep. They go back. They tell the villagers. The villagers come. They get the witch. End of story. You see, it's not as suspenseful. I don't feel like Hansel and Gretel are in any danger. The witch is asleep. They've got guns. Where's the drama? Where's the suspense? Where's the feeling that, this is it for Hansel? The lesson from Hansel and Gretel, which is be suspicious of things that seem too good to be true, like a gingerbread house, is lost in this version. And this one is just some stuff that happened, and it's not that exciting. And I'm worried that the NRA is going to be doing more of these stories, taking classic fairy tales and just watering them down. In both versions, despite the guns, no one gets killed. There's no bloodshed, except for, I guess, the animals that get killed in Hansel and Gretel. But they're not like the big bad wolf. They don't talk, they don't speak. They're just animals, and people eat them for food. Like I said, there are plans for the NRA to look at other classic fairy tales. And I hope they don't do that. I not want to see some more watered down versions of these fairy tales, because the guns are just simply going to... In fact, I'm going to take it a step forward and bring out some classic fairy tales, bring guns into the equation, and ruin the story, so the NRA will realize what a stupid move it is. So, the boy who cried wolf. Okay, he's a little shepherd kid. He gets bored. He cries wolf. Now, in this version, he has a shotgun, right? So, the villagers are like, oh, he's crying wolf and he's not taking shots at it. Something's gone wrong. So, they all run up there. Turns out there's no wolf. Boy has a big laugh about this. Villagers are pissed off. It's like, don't do that again. But, a couple weeks later, boy gets bored. Yells, wolf, wolf, wolf again. Villagers come out. Once again, no wolf. They're getting pissed at him. He does this a few more times. Then one day, as he's doing his flock, moving around with the shotgun, he sees a wolf and shoots it, or scares it away. So you don't want any violence in these NRA fairy tales. Point being, the kid learned nothing. In fact, maybe because he took down the wolf, he becomes a big hero, and all that stuff he did before, he doesn't care. He didn't learn a lesson. He can just go on being a douchebag prankster like Sam Pepper. Right? So, Goldilocks goes out for a walk in the woods, just wandering about with her Colt 45, finds a house that isn't hers, goes inside, sees there's 3 bowls of porridge. One is too hot, one is too cold, one is just right. She eats that, she goes, oh, I feel so sleepy. She goes upstairs, finds 3 beds. One's too big, one's too small, one is just right. Or no, one is too hard, one is too soft, one is just right. She goes with the one that's just right. Turns out the place was owned by bears, which is why you have a father bear who cooked his porridge too hot. You had the mother bear whose porridge was too cold. Baby bears was just right. Why they left their porridge on the table to go out for a walk is beyond anyone's idea. Father said, "Hey, I got my porridge to cool down." Of course, that would mean that mother's porridge would be even colder when they got back, and probably baby bear's porridge would still be cold. I digress. Anyway, they go upstairs, they find Goldilocks, and startle her. She's like, "Oh shit," pulls out the .45, kills them all. So basically, the house invader wins in that story. And you're saying, well, why don't we turn it around? And because she's a house invader, we have the bears have the guns. Why? They're bears. Same thing with Jack and the Beanstalk. Sells the cows, gets the magic beans. Beanstalk goes up in the air. He goes, finds a giant castle with a golden goose and magic harp and whatever else is there. Giant comes, goes, fee, fi, fo, well, who the hell are you? Bam! Gets shot with the elephant rifle, right? Because Jack had, once again, the thief wins. And you say, why not give the giant a gun? For Christ's sakes, he's a fucking giant. Why does he need a gun? He just stomps on Jack. Okay, Three Little Pigs. They go off into the real world. They all decide they're going to build different houses. One is incredibly lazy, decides he's just going to build out hay. One's not as lazy, decides he's going to build out sticks. And in a case of what I think was stonemason propaganda, and I don't mean the secret society, I mean actual stonemasons, the other one builds his house out of bricks. Along comes a big bad wolf, he knocks on the door. "Hey, let me in." "Not by the hair in my chinny chin chin," says the pig in the house made of hay. "Well, now I'm going to blow it down." And of course this wolf has hurricane-like breath, knocks hay house down, eats that pig, goes on the stick house, same storyline, and goes down. Knock, 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 let me in. Not by the hair of my chinny chin. Then I will huff and puff and blow your house down. Blows down the stick house, eats that pig. Goes to the brick house. He goes, "Let me in." Pig opens the door with a 12-gauge shotgun, blows the wolf away in. Actually, that would work. I think the three pigs, it would work. I still think you need to kill off the first two pigs. But I think guns would work in that story. They will work in Three Little Pigs. But nothing else. I mean, Cinderella. Come on now. How would you work a gun into that story? She pricks her hand on a needle. No, that's Sleeping Beauty. Another one where I don't think a shotgun would have worked or anything. But Snow White, again, with Snow White, if the seven dwarfs were armed with Snow White, taking down the evil queen, you get rid of the whole poisonous apple bit, that would be worth seeing. Snow White and the Seven Little Commandos. I would watch that.